recorded. So, find your angle. Siyempre, mataras lang Nico. Pang top model na, America's top model. Marine Tyra Banks kayo. Okay, if it's subject-centered design, I repeat, your focus is on the subject, on the content. Okay? If it's learner-centered design, definitely, you begin with the learner's needs. Okay? Now, bago ka pumili ng content, bago ka pumili ng competency, aalamin mo muna yung pangangailangan ng mga learners mo. Pag doon ka nag-umpisa, then it's a learner-centered design. Now, since we are pointing out that K-12 is learner-centered, sinasabi natin learner-centered, definitely number 2 is dominant always in our plan. This model should always be dominant. We always use learner-centered design. The third one is problem-centered design, focusing on social problems. Okay, like it's like a discovery method. Like you will present the problem and then let them discover solutions to that problem. So ganun siya. Like it's also learner-centered in a way, but we call it problem-centered because we focus on the problem. Ano ba ang problema na meron tayo ngayon na kailangang matutunan ng mga bata? That's how you start your planning. That's your question. What's the problems? What are the problems existing in the society, whether immediate, whether pressing, or perennial problems existing in the society that my learners need to address once they become leaders? Okay, so I repeat the 3 major curriculum design models. We have subject-centered design, the learner-centered design, and problem-centered design. Okay. Design. Okay, focus on this aside. The content of the curriculum is the focus. Okay, your aim for excellence is on the improvement of the subject matter, or what we call the content. Okay, like for instance, you're teaching about solar system. You are asking yourself, is what I'm teaching updated? Siyam pa ba ang planeta sa solar system o wala na? Ina-update mo. Then that's subject-centered design. Okay? Yung tanong na anong ituturo ko next week. Ayan, that's subject-centered design. Ang ginagamit mo na sa puntong yun is subject-centered because you focus on the subject. Okay, on your screen, we have the different examples or types of subject-centered design. It could be subject design. It could be discipline design. It could be correlation design. It could be broad field design or interdisciplinary. When you say subject design, very simple. You focus on the content. Okay, what's the content of what you are teaching? Okay, what are the topics that you are going to discuss? Then that's the first type, subject design. Second type is what we call the discipline design. So this is actually used in college as in biology as a discipline for aspiring biologists. Example, if you're taking a biology class, okay, and if you want to be a biologist, definitely ang tuturo sa iyo ay tungkol sa biology. So lahat ng nandun sa curriculum nyo is about subjects, okay, topics in relation to biology. Because you would like to be a biologist. Example, sa inyo, sa college, di ba? Since you are education students, anong mga subjects na kinukuha nyo? These are subjects that will teach you on how to become a teacher. Okay? Everything about teaching. Everything about the profession. Are there subjects that you are taking that is not related to teaching? Wala. Lahat ng subjects, course na kinukuha nyo since you are taking education is related to your profession. So this is what we call the discipline design. Next is what we call the correlation design. So when I say correlation design, in here, we link one subject to the other. Yung kanina, very simple lang yung first type. It's subject design, you focus on the content of the subject. But for letter C, correlation design, you relate your subject, your field, to the other fields. Did you get it? Thumbs up nga kung nakuha yun. Yung correlation design. Okay, good. Ijesa mo tayong menikwa. Okay, good. Bakit nyo rin thumbs yung rin dyan makuyas? Diyan ka size lang longganisa sa akin na. Okay. Example, on your screen, will link English with social studies as math links to science. So when you teach math, yeah, there is a consideration of science topics also. Okay, ini-integrate natin. Actually, lahat ng subjects ngayon nalilink na sa lahat, no? Like for English, lahat kayang i-link. Okay, for mathematics, of course, there's also English because what you are using is English language when you are teaching. Plus, when they are taking the test, it's in English. There's also science. Okay, social studies, pwede rin yung sukatin yung mga objects in relation to social studies, di ba? Yung a-add nila yung, for instance, area ng Pilipinas sa area ng, o kung pag nasama na ba ang area ng Pilipinas sa China, ano na ang area ngayon since it's an Asia, di ba? So that's mathematics. That's what we call correlation design. And last type is what we call the broad field design or interdisciplinary. What do we mean by this? So this one, it's not one field to the other field or one subject to the other field. We call it broad field design because it's in one umbrella. Okay, like yeah, an example, social studies could be chopped into geography. Social studies could also refer to economics. Social studies could also refer to political science. Okay, katulad ng science. Okay, sa science, it's the broad design. Na pag sinap yan, meron pang chemistry, may biology, meron pang pa, physics, ayan, natural science, at kung ano-ano pa in relation to the big umbrella of science. That's why we call it interdisciplinary. One major field or yes, correct. One major field or one major discipline chopped into subfields. Okay, nakuha. So all of this relates to subject-centered design. Madalas sa college, ginagamit yung letter B, discipline design. Okay, kasi it's discipline-based. Halimbawa, nung lawyer ka, of course, lahat ng course or subjects na kukunin mo ay tungkol sa law if you are an aspiring lawyer. And lang man din na lialiwa. Unlike in basic education, iba-iba. Okay? In basic education, anong type ang nag-i-exist? It could be A, subject design. Pwede rin siyang C. Pwede rin siyang D. Okay? It could be A, C, or D. Pwede rin yung discipline design sa senior high school. Halimbawa, if you're taking ABM, di ba? STEM. Lahat ng courses na kukunin mo in relation dun sa strand na yan. Okay? They are already, what do you call this one? Discipline-based. Kasi they are preparing you to become accountant, to become business people, okay, to become scientists, mathematicians, okay? So far, do you have questions on the first type? Ala, ka-fast learner ta. Ayakit king exam. Okay, second major type is the learner-centered design. In here, the learner is the center of the educative process. So the question here, if you are designing your curriculum, what are the needs of my learners? What are their interests? What are their abilities? And based from those questions, you will craft the curriculum. You will align everything to their abilities, to their knowledge, to their interests, and to their needs. And of course, just like for subject-centered, learner-centered design could also be chopped into three types. First, we have the child-centered design. In here, the obvious, the dominant one is that the child, the learner, the general term, okay, the teachers and the environment interact. Okay? That's why we call it child-centered. You let the child be at the center and then respond to stimuli. And that includes the environment and the teachers. Okay? I repeat, for child-centered design, the child is in the center, interacting, mingling, responding to the teachers and the environment. Next, it could also be experience-centered design. So still learner-centered, but focusing on experience. So in here, your point in mind or your philosophy in mind is that the needs of the learners cannot be pre-planned. Okay? Hindi siya focus on needs, no? It's not based on the needs of the learners. Hindi mo ma-identify, mahirap daw i-identify ang needs ng mga learners. It cannot be pre-planned. So what's the best way to design the curriculum if the needs cannot be pre-planned? Unlike in child-centered, you focus on the needs of the learners. In here, experience become the starting point. Let them experience it first, okay? Let them respond to the activities, and that's where you are going to identify about their needs. So learners there are made to choose from the activities. And then they experience the activities. Okay, that's for experience-centered design. I repeat, dun sa una, child-centered design, nagfo-focus pa ito sa mga needs ng mga bata. But in here, for letter B, it's focusing on the experiences, the activities which you are going to provide to your learners. Okay? Last is what we call the humanistic design, still under learner-centered design. Are you familiar with Abraham Maslow's self-actualization? Yung pyramid, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Tatandaan, in psychology class, you took this one. Alina. Do you remember still Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Anyone who remember about Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Oh, katahimikan. Katahimikan. Hindi na naman yung kain. Nilabasing anghel.
Hindi na po, sir.
Okay. Yung kung natatandaan nyo, yung Maslow's hierarchy of needs, yung inverted na, it's not inverted actually, it's a pyramid. Okay? Na nung nasa ilalim, yung mga basic needs like food, shelter, okay, moving to physiological needs, at yung pinakamahirap abutin is self-actualization na nasa tuktok. That before you reach that part na nandun sa top ng pyramid, you have to satisfy those which are below. Like yung food, shelter, insecurity, it's about family, physiological needs, okay, before reaching your goals. Now, under humanistic design, bakit siya kinonect? It's about letting the learner decide, kaya nga humanistic, no? On his own pace of learning. Okay? Helping the learners to realize his or her potential. If you remember the philosophy about existentialism, ayan, it relates to humanistic design. Na kapag nagturo ka, gagawa ka ng plano, may pa-deadline ka kunyari, no? Ayan, deadline. Hindi ka mag-decide ng sarili mong deadline. You will consult your learners, okay? Kunyari, ito, lesson planning, gagawa kayo ng lesson plan. Hanggang kailan nyo kayang tapusin ng isang lesson plan kung naka-group kayo? Mag-suggest na rin, sir, pwede pong 1 week, okay. Let's have 1 week for lesson planning and you will work with the group. That's consultative. Okay? Bakit siya naging humanistic? You approach the learners, you ask the learners kung ano yung kaya nila, ano yung gusto nila. That's why it says here, learning is self-directed. Ayan, no? Self-directed learning, okay, by improving self-understanding, development of the self, focusing on the self by means of letting them be involved in the plan. Unlike dun sa child-centered, ikaw ang nagplano ng gusto nila, ikaw ang nagplano, nag-decide ng needs nila. For experience-centered, you just provided the activities and you let them experience. Okay, for humanistic design, hindi ka agad-agad nag-identify ng needs. Hindi ka agad-agad nag-assume ng interest nila. You ask your learners about everything. Lahat sila may say, okay, doon sa gagawin mo paraan ng pagtuturo. Because you are going to teach your learners, you are going to craft the curriculum based on, okay, their pace, based on how they want that plan to be designed. Sir, makananita, maminto yung teacher? No. Okay? The teacher here, just like I repeat, we are decision makers. Okay? In curriculum development. Ikaw rin yung mag-a-assess. Punta sinabi, kunyari kayo na, okay, hanggang kapilan niya ayaring lesson plan, kaya ba't sinabi, you 2 months, kaya ba't makagroup ko pa? Mag-suggest ko mo, may sabi-sabi kayo mo, kunyari 2 months niya, 2 months yung sabi, tamo niya, sabi ang takas, sir. Sopan tayo 2 months para ito masyadong mapagalan. Only syempre, as a teacher, I have this instinct na 2 months will be too much. Okay? Even if I let you decide for that, still, I am the teacher. I have this understanding that this lesson planning can be accomplished even in just 3 days, because apat kayo, no? But I gave you a week to finish that, yeah? Just to consider the distance um, becoming a barrier for you to meet each other. Pero yun yung sinasabi natin, pwede kang mag-suggest, okay, class, I think 2 months will be too much. Okay? If you're going to write one plan, imagine you have 2 months. What kind of plan are you going to do? Is it an entire book? Okay? An entire school year lesson plan which you're going to write? Okay. No, sir. Ito, pa-realize mo ka rin. And you use questions. Let them realize. Ayan nga, oh. Development of the self by means of self-understanding. Huwag mo silang i-reprimand. Ay, pwedeng 2 months, OA kayo. Huwag ganon. Do you think 2 months will be, isn't it too much for a lesson plan? Ganun ang mga tanungan natin. Ko makipate ka rin, estudyante yun eh. Iyo pang, let them realize. Ganun naman, pag nagkamali sila ng sagot sa recitation, huwag mo agad-agad na sasabihin yung sagot. Ay, mali ka, makagisang kang oras, luklok na ka. Yung answer mo sa Rizal ng Andres Bonifacio. Huwag ganon. Okay, you answered Andres Bonifacio. Pero, sa piso, sino ba ang nakalagay? Ang kanta, giving him a hint, di ba? Akit na kanta, pag pemilit na pa rin Andres Bonifacio, ba't mo kanta? Let me ask you, who wrote No Limit ang Hire? Bibigyan mo siya ng clue. Ngayon, inungin teacher, alayang balo mo naman kang Jose Rizal, alayang balo king life ng Jose Rizal, biyan niya yung sagot. So, it's a sign na limited dyan naman yung balo na ni mayayakit mararakap. Okay? That's why in teacher, ang mapangutang, kunyari mali yung anak, and then mangutang leading the learner to the correct answer, marakal yung kebaluan to. Pero yung teacher na sinabi na agad ng sabot, ba nang mayaring pisabyan na hanapin, ba nang may kawakawani.
Walang palukitan teacher, ito sir, itong biyasa.
Brand yun na naku, share king kasalanan nyo nga yan. Solwan nyo na yan. Pangadi yung teacher ito.
Alo, sir.
Sagot pa lang, ikawani, sino pa ning anak manisip. Ayan. Teacher na limited dyan naman balo. Kasi balo birthday, balo ka rin niya balo na balo niya, balo yung lugar, balo yung details, balo no ka rin niya ban sa amin to. Akalingwanan na yung kaya ganagana kasi yari na yung kinuha yung result course. So, wag ganon. Okay. That's why I'm advising. Ito naman kagandahan ng part number 2, experience-centered. Pag experience-centered siya, kasi tayo pag na-experience natin, mahirap natin makalimutan. Unlike pag tinuturo lang. Like when you go to a tour, tinuturo yung mga buhay ni Jose Rizal. Pero nag-tour kami, pumunta mismo din sa bahay ni Rizal, nakita ko yung mga pinagsusulat niya, mas na-appreciate ko at mas natandaan ko. Okay, fresh na fresh pa sa akin. Yung mga bagay-bagay, kasi nakita ko mismo yung mga obra niya. Kung saan siya binaril, pinakita. Di ba sa Luneta Park, right? Merong doon show. Pag educational tour, na pag nag-tour kayo doon, ipapakita lahat from beginning up to end kung paano siya binaril. May parang role play. Okay? Napakaganda. Hindi na lang siya yung pupunta ka doon and then akit mo rin ribo-ribo to pa picture-picture ka, waki-waki tang magmalago ka. Iba naman natin dyan yung history behind. Ba't post mo Facebook mo revisiting history mo tang kaya mo manantin dyan. For picture taking mo pala. At igmakanyan tang emote lang mo kunyari mag-visit lang museum. Ito naman babasan detang makasulat king lalang painting pa picture lang. May sabi mo kinda nanos ka rin art fanatic. Bala mong ma-amaze tingin picture na. Mag-comment lang mo kanta rin ka, hindi ka rin lang friends, then ma-amaze lang naman. At tita mo, support. Okay. Supportan nyo lang yung kapag panggapan. But once you visit these places, makakutang kayo, make it educational. Ako pag nagtutour ako, hindi lang purely siya, itong magsaya-saya. Makakutang ko karetang native na at saka rin naman ka na ni way of life, tinitinda. At least natututo ka na kapag nagkwento ka na, tutunay ko kwento mo na pintalan mo ng lugar ita, experience mo na, you talk to the people, you experience the water. Aliwa itang mamaman-imagine ka mo, napakalamig, alam nyo ba na ang Boracay ang pinakamagandang beach of very fine ang mga ang buhang. Nakiikit mo niya, sure ka, fine niya. Nakasikilibro, sir, fine niya. But if you experience it, mas kapani-paniwala ka, mas akwento mo first hand, okay? So yun when sabihan ko kaya kayo, teaching profession, di ba? Save money for travel. Okay, a way to recharge and to get first-hand experience. Adiway nang magpabibo kayo mo ka rin anak nyo pala experience. Okay. Next, a problem-centered design. We have two types. Okay, either life situation design or the core design. If it's life situation, by the way, for problem-centered design, like what I've mentioned, it focuses on social problems, the social needs, the social interest, and ayan, the abilities of the learners. Why? Bakit abilities? Kasi dito, once you introduce the problem, you want your learners to develop a skill in order to resolve the problem. That's why you focus on the abilities of the learner. Halimbawa, ganito, pag ituturo mo ang pagluluto ng yung pinakbet ng Ilocano, kunyari, yun ang menu na ituturo mo, pinakbet ng Ilocano, hindi mo ituturo na kung subject content siya, ang focus mo is, tuturo mo na agad kung anong mga ingredients, maaaring paraan ng pagluluto, papakit kang video. Okay? That's subject-centered. Pero kung ang focus mo ay problem-centered, ganito ang tanong mo. Kung mahilig ang mga Ilocano sa bagoong, at ang bagok na itang alobebe, palagay nyo, paano ang paraan nila ng pagluluto ng pinakbet, okay, given na ito lang ang mga ingredients na meron sa kanila. Manulala ka niyan, mamag-suggest lang. Okay? And then, second kanta, pakit mo kanta rin ingredients. Pwede rin, pakita mo yung mga ingredients sa palagay nyo, anong iluluto natin ngayong araw na to. Manisip lang kanta. Bakit ting bago king balasen? So, ating naman sinabing leche flan niya, ating bago, okay ba't ating, ay, ausan me, sige, tumayo ka Pedro, amo kanya. Bakit leche flan ang sagot mo? Pota naman yung leche flan karela, ating ang palayan niya, pakibaluan mo pa, kagad mag-judge. At in different ways on how to cook a leche flan. Ano nga kari-karen? Fusion, pota ating niya palang innovation niya, pwede. Okay? Kasi nga, sa isang school, alam, surprisingly, yung mga competition, yung burger patty na ginawa nila na parang meat, gawa pala sa balat ng saba ng saging. Balat ng saba ng saging, ha? Ginawa nilang pagkain at hindi mo nalaman na balat pala ng saging yun. Imagine, enjoy na enjoy sila sa burger patty. Okay? Na-surprising nung binanggit na ingredients, balat pala ng saba ng saging. Okay? Bravo. O, ito, ninyambot siya, syempre. Yan kayo nung lalaban kayo, dapat kakaiba. Ang gagamitan yung ingredients, tansan, makanyan bubog.
Nakakagutom.
Just kidding. Ayan, yung Rochelle, Ilocano yun. Manyaman yung pinakbit Ilocano. Ating niyang kamot.
True, sir.
Diba? Kibat na itang mga lating ang palaya. Yung pinakbit ka Pampangan,
At saka bilog.
Pota balada naman din Nicole niya. Kaya pag maraguling Kapampangan. May mother is may Ilocano blood siya and then may father is Kapampangan. Pinakbit na naman din Kapampangan. Yung bagok da itang alamang ausan da rin Ilocano. Baligtad. Okay? Dating kalabasan kaya bating Kapampangan pa pag maluto itatang pang pota damdaman. Mas marakal pa yung babi kaya sa aking guli. Ito tong pinakbiting niluto da. My goodness. Then kaya bubudol da akong maggulay lang mo ano kinabukasan. Ba? Ano ini? Adobo ng ating okra. Ay, di Kapampangan kasi gigisada pa. But for most Ilocano, yung mga dinengding nila, itang pang-bukal daw, pero manyaman with inihaw on top, di ba? Ay, makakarap yung piece of yan. Ba't nawala ng bagyo? Okay, it's divided into two, life situation design or core design. If it's life situation design, we talk about the pressing immediate problems. Pressing immediate problems. Example, at present, ayan, COVID-19. Yan, pressing problem yan. Ano pa? Itang Dolomite. Ayan, Dolomite is shaking kasi sunod-sunod na rin bagyo yan. Ating pakayang mitagan ka rin ang Dolomite na pengabit na ka rin. Ay God po, ating kampon ng Duterte ngayon, sumbong na akong na. Magtsuko mo. Matatagla reta ang Dolomite na, matatagla, manatili la reta for sure. Yung value naman ng government, talagang planuhan ng kaya ganaganang proyekto. Alang malakong Dolomite ka rin, manatili la reta.
Recorded, sir. Recorded.
O, patapabaril dako. Next, core design. Problems and common human activities like cooking. Ayan. Pamagluto, pamagmalago. Ayan. Pamagmalago na, naikuha ng recall, yung ganaganang lesson about beauty care. Yeah, at this moment, ayan, it's life. I mean, it's The second type, pag ganyan ang focus mo, ang problem na in-introduce mo are the problems in common daily activities. Pagluluto, ano pa ba? Pagsakay ng jeep. Basta lahat ng ginagawa ng tao sa araw-araw. Okay? Common human activities. That's what we call the core design. So I repeat, we have two. Either life or core. Okay. 11 steps to proceed using core design of a curriculum. First, eto ang steps if you are using a core design curriculum. Yung second type na, ayan. Second type of problem-centered design, the core design. These are the steps to core design of a curriculum. First, make a group consensus on important problems. So, magklase ka, kutlan mo rin anak, nanula rin activities gagawan dal-doldo. Okay? Based from there, you are going to develop a criteria for the selection of the important problems. So, Sir Aliyah pala nung nano mo nga isip mo yan turo mo, no. Okay? Yeah, it's problem-centered. Siguraduhan mo na problema, para ka-relate. Pota naman yung problemang i-introduce mo, ikami ki problema. Okay, ba't buri mo ilang solution? No. It's a problem, make a consensus of these problems, ask your learners. Okay, and then make a consensus. Pag sinabing consensus, yun yung pinakamarami based on your survey na ginawa sa mga estudyante mo. And then develop a criteria for the selection of important problems. State and define the problem. Okay, from general, you can make it specific. Parang research lang, no? Decide on areas of